Lynn Hernan wakes up early in her condo to feed her 2 cats, Mittens and Fluffy. She cherishes her morning routine with her feline companions. At 62 years old, Lynn lives a modest life, keeping to herself except for a small circle of close friends. While Lynn lives a modest life, she has a generous spirit and trusting nature when it comes to those she cares for. Though never wealthy herself, Lynn makes sure to put aside what little she can for the select few she considers family. For Anthony, the boy Lynn helped raise, she keeps a lockbox in her condo. Inside are important documents and trinkets Lynn wants Anthony to have if her health fails. At just 62, but plagued by mysterious illnesses, Lynn accepts her time could be cut short. She hopes the lockbox's contents will help Anthony after she's gone, a final act of care from his pseudo-mother. Lynn hides the lockbox away not out of mistrust, but to keep its location secret and contents protected. She trusts Anthony completely and wants to ensure her final gifts reach his hands. Tucking the lockbox out of sight, Lynn takes comfort knowing Anthony will be provided for thanks to her planning. Her generosity and love for him outweigh her own needs. Lynn putters around her home, tidying up and getting ready for her visitor. Jessy Kurczewski is expected to come by later that morning. Jessy is like a daughter to Lynn, even though they are not related. Lynn has known Jessy since she was a little girl and watched her grow up. Now a woman of her own, she comes over frequently to help Lynn out around the house and run errands. After breakfast, Lynn takes her daily medications, washes the dishes, and sits down to watch her favorite mid-morning talk shows. She laughs out loud at the guests' antics, causing her cat to give her an annoyed look. The hours pass uneventfully until a knock at the door signals Jessy's arrival. Jessy sweeps into the condo, arms loaded with groceries. She cheerfully greets Lynn, depositing the bags on the counter. Together, the 2 women put away the food and supplies, chatting about Jessy's busy week at work. Lynn listens attentively, happy to have the company. With the groceries put away, Jessy asks Lynn what she needs done today. Lynn requests help going through some paperwork and paying a few bills. Jessy pulls out the file folder she brought, and they get to work at the kitchen table. Occasionally, Lynn needs reminders from Jessy about usernames and passwords for her various accounts. At 62, she struggles with technology and depends on Jessy's expertise. Lynn writes out checks for Jessy to mail and reviews credit card statements, trusting her advice about payments. After an hour or 2, they decide to take a break. Jessy offers to make them lunch, rummaging through the newly stocked refrigerator. She prepares 2 sandwiches along with bottles of water. Lynn settles on the couch, calling her cat over to nap beside her. Jessy brings over the plates and waters, sitting down in the armchair. The 2 women eat their lunches, chatting more about family and friends. Lynn yawns, the task of bill paying tiring her out. She thanks Jessy for her help today. Jessy clears away the dishes and gathers up her things to head out. She gives Lynn a quick hug, promising to stop by in a few days. Lynn waves goodbye from the doorway as Jessica gets in her car and drives off. The condo is quiet once again. Lynn decides to take a nap, exhausted from the morning's activities. She curls up in bed, with her cat snuggled by her feet. Within minutes, she is fast asleep, unaware of the events that will soon unfold. A few hours later, Lynn startles awake, confused and disoriented. Her head is pounding and her stomach churning violently. Her cat meows anxiously beside her as Lynn stumbles from the bed, struggling to stand. She makes her way to the bathroom, leaning heavily on the walls for support. Collapsing in front of the toilet, Lynn begins to vomit, bringing up the sandwich from earlier. Her body trembles and shakes as she retches again and again. Her cat circles her feet, distressed by Lynn's condition. Exhausted, Lynn finally stops heaving long enough to look down at herself. With horror, she sees her shirt is covered in a white powdery substance. More of the grainy powder coats her hands and the bathroom floor. She touches her face tenderly and feels the same gritty texture around her mouth and nose. Fighting a wave of nausea, Lynn pulls herself and makes it to the sink. As she stares at her disheveled appearance in the mirror, dread washes over her. She rinses off her face and wets a washcloth to clean the powder off her body. Before making it to the living room, she puts in her daily eye drops. Lynn has had a lifelong habit of excessively using eye drops that started when she was young. She always kept multiple bottles stashed around her home and would put drops in her eyes sometimes 5 to 6 times per hour. No matter how often friends and doctors warned her about possible side effects, Lynn couldn't seem to break her compulsive need to keep dosing her eyes throughout the day. She claimed the cooling relief of the drops was the only thing that soothed her chronic dry eyes. So even now in her 60s, Lynn still carried on her relentless habit of filling her eyes with drops, going through bottle after bottle. Once cleaned up, Lynn shuffles to the kitchen for a glass of water, trying to clear the foul taste from her mouth. As she sips, fragments of memory surface about her lunch with Jessy earlier that day. The water bottle Jessy brought her, something about it seemed off. With alarm, Lynn remembers Jessy preparing sandwiches and drinks in the very kitchen Lynn stands in now. She recalls Jessy handing her a bottle of water to accompany her lunch. At the time, she thought nothing of it. But now, Lynn's mind is spinning as she tries to make sense of it all. Why would Jessy do this to her? They were so close, like family. Lynn racked her brain thinking back over their conversations that day. Was there some sign she missed? Some indication of betrayal? But she remembers nothing out of the ordinary. Unable to find answers, Lynn knows she needs help right away. She searches for her cell phone to call 911, but can't locate it. Growing desperate, she picks up the landline to dial instead. After 2 rings, the line goes dead. Lynn stares at the phone in disbelief. Her panic rising, Lynn debates her options. She could try driving herself to the hospital, but fears she's too weak and disoriented to make it safely. With no phone, she can't even call a neighbor or friend for help. She's completely alone. As another wave of nausea hits, Lynn collapsed onto the couch, too dizzy and confused to stand any longer. Her cat jumps up beside her, nuzzling against her as she begins to fade in and out of consciousness. Lynn's thoughts blur as the room spins around her. Her breathing slows. The cat's cries fade away into silence as Lynn's world goes dark. Jessy remembers she forgot something at Lynn's home, so she returns to pick up her belongings. Jessica lets herself into Lynn's condo, calling out cheerful "hello" as she enters. Getting no response, she frowns slightly and glances around the living room. Nothing seems amiss, except Lynn is nowhere to be seen. Jessica moves further into the condo, peering into the kitchen and down the hall. Still no sign of Lynn. Growing concerned, Jessy heads back to the living room and finally notices Lynn seated motionless in her recliner chair. Jessica hurries over, heart sinking at Lynn's still form and pale skin. She reaches out a shaky hand to feel for a pulse at Lynn's neck, but there is only cold, lifeless flesh beneath her fingertips. Jessy steps back in horror, realizing her dear friend is gone. Lynn sits slumped over in her chair, eyes closed and body stiff in the cool grip of death. Jessy calls 911. The investigators pull up to the quiet condo complex, squad lights flashing. They make their way to Lynn's unit, peering around the exterior for any signs of forced entry or a struggle. A detective meets with the deputies already interviewing a woman named Jessy, learning she is supposedly Lynn's caretaker. Entering the condo, the detective takes in the living room where Lynn sits motionless in her recliner, body stiff in death's grip. His gaze sweeps over the peculiar scene, pill bottles and crushed powder scattered on her chest, documents piled at her feet. He notes the odd placement, but nothing that screams criminality. The detective steps outside, carefully photographing the condo's interior and exterior. He looks for anything indicative of homicide, but finds only tragic markers of self-inflicted harm. No note, no trauma, nothing suspicious to document beyond the bizarre posed quality of the powder-dusted corpse. In the end, the detective leaves with more questions than answers. But with no obvious signs of foul play, he sees no need to dig deeper. As far as he can tell, the poor woman took her own life. Case closed. A few days pass and Jessy is concerned about the cause of death. She can't understand how Lynn could just die. She knows Lynn has had health issues in the past, but this doesn't make any sense. Jessy is one of Lynn's closest friends, so she takes it upon herself to call the pathologists to see if they have identified a cause of death. They have not. Jessy wants to help any way she can, so she goes to the police station with her mother to talk to the investigators. Her mom agrees with everything Jessy explains and reinforces that everything being told is fact. She is there to support her daughter.
And, I mean, I know what state she was in and where she was at, but I didn't. You know, it's kind of frustrating because I was there all the time taking care of her. I'm the one who took her to the doctor. I'm the one who did everything. So the not knowing, you know, and I wasn't there with her. So it bothers me because I go, could I have been there? Could I have helped? Could I have done something? You know, that's my hardest part. I've never found anybody before, and it's not something I ever want to do again.
You had power of attorney medically?
Yeah.
Did you have financial power of attorney?
No.
No.
No, yes. If need be, I think so. Or you did. I don't remember. I know I still have all the forms at home, so.
Okay.
As Lynn's body lies cold in the morgue, an autopsy gets underway, investigators hoping to uncover answers about her abrupt end. At first glance, the scene points tragically to self-inflicted demise. But Lynn's loved ones argue otherwise, telling officers she would never abandon her beloved cats. The autopsy results finally come back. The culprit is eye drops, an odd method for suicide. With this, suspicions turn sharply to Jessy. Lynn's inner circle recounts how she cherished her feline family beyond all else, that she seemed content just days before. The report also notes Lynn's stomach held an array of pills, some in concerningly high doses, but many remained fully intact, not yet dissolved to enter her bloodstream. While an excess of medication contributed, the examiner deems the potent eye drops pushed her over the edge. Lynn's friends shake their heads in dismay. Such a senseless way to die. But it makes no sense. Self-inflicted harm through your eyes? Now investigators must determine if a trusted loved one could orchestrate such a horrific, deliberate demise. Jessy is brought into custody for further questioning. She is quick to highlight Lynn's health issues prior to her passing. Jessy explains to interrogators that Lynn was in and out of the hospital since her body was shutting down. Lynn has known health issues as she ages and takes many different medications to soothe her ailments.
Sometimes yes and sometimes no. Till right before the hospital, she could.
Okay.
During, on the way, we did an ambulance. She literally got out of the car at the hospital and they said, how are you doing this? So, they saw it. Her last 3 days at the house, she was falling. She would get up, but she'd fall. That's why I had the bathroom thing right by her. Because she could do some, she couldn't do some. Sometimes she'd get up and get water. She'd make herself try, I would say once or twice to get up, but it didn't always work.
What? Do you know why she went to the hospital the last day before her death?
She didn't go the last day before her death.
No, her last stay.
Her last stay. Physically, her body was shutting down.
She was weak?
She wasn't eating. She probably didn't eat in 2 weeks before. She was so dehydrated. She knew she had to go. Me and her neighbor both said, you have to go and do something because your body is shutting down.
And what's the name of the neighbor?
June or Judy?
Okay.
No. I don't have my phone with me. You guys know it.
Did we talk to her that day?
You talked to her that day. She was the only one who helped me pick her up when she fell off the ground.
Okay.
But I can't. It's not Judy. Judy's the other one. But it's in my phone. I know.
And we talked to her that day.
Yep. Yeah, she's all over. I gave you her information too.
And was she taking her own medicine?
She was taking her own medicine.
But she didn't drive or nothing?
No.
So you would go get the prescriptions?
Yes. Walgreens knows me. They got to know me very well. Even when she was in the hospital, she wanted a prescription because the hospital wasn't giving her own prescription. And I brought it in and I let the nurses know that I went and got it for her.
Okay.
And they took it from her.
Okay.
I said, I'm just doing what she told me to do, but I want you guys to be aware, so,
And were you paying for them, or was she paying you back? Or credit card on file, or?
No. Sometimes I paid for him, sometimes she paid for him. I went both ways.
And Lynn was taking, oxycodone, right, or some kind of opiate?
I don't remember offhand, to be honest.
Because usually the pharmacists are paying to have an opiate. They were fine with you because you were the person?
Well, they knew Lynn very well at her Walgreens. And they also know me, and I was on file as who I was, but I don't know if she was taking She was taking, her main one was Xanax or something. I don't know about Oxycontin. I don't know most of them by heart except for she liked her Xanax.
So,
and then she had like a blood pressure, and I don't know the rest.
She's taking quite a bit of meds.
Yeah.
Like 20 of them, it looked like.
Those weren't all her prescriptions, though. Like,
Okay.
I mean, I shouldn't say that. They weren't for the time. She'd have meds, and then the doctors would take her off. They'd put her on, take her off. So, I mean, she had meds all over her house. That was just the normal for her.
That was just the normal.
Yeah.
The interrogators questioned Jessy about her relationship with Lynn and her involvement in administering her medications. The interrogator expresses concern for the high levels of tetrahydrozoline, more commonly known as eye drops, in Lynn's system. Jessy replies without hesitation. She knows that Lynn was a chronic eye drop user and has been for some time. Jessy assures the interrogator that this wouldn't be a surprise, since she would supply Lynn with many bottles at a time. However, Jessy is confused about how this could actually harm someone when it's intended to be put in your eyes. Jessy expresses that she has never heard of eye drops poisoning people.
It's called tetrahydrozoline.
What is that?
How commonly known as eye drops.
She uses eye drops all the time.
What does she use them for?
She used them for her eyes. But
Yeah.
she went through them like crazy, which didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when you say a lot, how much was she using?
I probably brought her 4 bottles while she was in the hospital.
Yeah.
She put them in her eyes all the time. All the time. And I was like, I've never met somebody that goes through it. She's like, my eyes are always dry. Always.
What kind of eye drops were you buying her?
Whatever kind. She didn't care. She didn't have like a history.
I mean, I'm not an eye drop guy, but we also refer to it as Visine. Is that?
Well, no, there's different. She liked a different kind. I don't know without looking at it. I really don't.
Okay.
No.
The hospital didn't have concerns with it?
I have no idea. I mean, she had it sing out on her thing.
The last couple
But
weeks.
what would that do anyway? I don't get it.
Well, apparently, it's not good for you to use lots of eye drops. And that's what the medical examiner is concerned about.
Did they look in her house? Because she has boxes of them.
Does
Or
she?
had. Yeah. Because she was well known for eye drops.
Okay.
Yeah. That's why I'm like, what is that? Because that just sounds really weird to me when you said
Well, it
that.
sounded
So I'm
weird
like,
to us, too.
Yeah. So then what?
What killed her is the eye drops.
Are you serious?
Do you think someone would have went in there and tried to kill her with eye drops?
No.
Put it in her drink?
I swear to God, I don't.
Her vodka?
No.
Does anyone have a motive?
No.
Jim?
No, this would be all her. And I would be
Corrine?
100%
Is
honest. with her.
Corrine financially squared away? She doesn't need the money?
It's nothing for money. This is what Lynn wanted. I'm telling you that. She looked at a million. I didn't know that, but she looked at ways.
Yeah.
Long time ago. She looked at the bag thing. This is something she knew what she was doing, obviously.
Uh-huh.
I didn't realize it, but she had to know what she was doing. Lynn was very determined to go out on her own way. She was determined to do things her way. That was just plain and simple. And I hate to say it, but she did what she did. The same with her pills. I mean, she got sick on her vodka. She got sick on pills. She did a lot of things that I don't agree with, but she did them the way she wanted them. I don't know how I wanted to say it.
The medical examiner tends to think someone killed her.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because they didn't find any Visine bottles next to her.
They're all over her house.
But she didn't really move around. That's what we were told, is she didn't really move. So the medical examiner
I
tends
can
to
honestly tell you, I know they're
think
all
that someone
over the house.
gave it to her.
No. I was the only one there. And
I was there. I didn't see any Visine.
I did not give her. They're all in her bathroom. And there was 2 on her nightstand.
Not next to her.
They were on her nightstand next to her. I swear to God, I know they were, because she always kept them right there.
Eventually, it is discovered that Jessy was sick about 6 months prior. She was apparently sick from none other than tetrahydrozoline. Back in January, Jessy was texting her boyfriend about her illness and her stay at the hospital. It freaked Jessy out knowing that people put eye drops in people's drinks to poison them. She couldn't believe it happened to her.
A.M. Jessy to Scott. I have traces of tetrahydrozoline in my blood. The doctor said that's what's messing with my blood pressure and why I feel like crap. He said that's the main broken up to the next text, which is at 11:39 as well. Ingredient in eye drops. WTF. I'm freaking out right now. He said so much stuff that I'm in complete shock. He asked me a ton of questions, where I've been. Next text is also continuing at 11:39. Who I've been around and all this shit. I have to go for a chest x-ray and get fluids in my vein now. I have to have the charcoal crap. It's so nasty. I don't. Continuing at 11:39 a.m. Jessy to Scott. Want to. I'm waiting for the x-ray and I'm shaking now again. I'm reading about it online and I need to. Jessy to Scott. He said that people put it in people's drinks all the time. He said there's no taste to it and people don't notice. Who the fuck does that? Is this Mike's? And then the text is broken up. 11:44. Jessy to Scott continuing. New sick joke. Thinking of his new poop ideas or what? At 11:45 a.m. Scott to Jessy. I have no idea. At 11:45 Scott to Jessy. I don't see why he would do that.
Back at the interrogation room, Jessy is confronted with all her lies. The interrogators highlight her stories that she told her boyfriend, Scott, and her mother. As the investigation wears on, the last two people that are close to Jessy turn on her and reveal her lies. The interrogators dive into the money she received from Lynn over the years and how she obtained the money. Jessy claims Lynn helped her with her debt and even gave Jessy's mom money. They point out that there may be a possibility Jessy signed checks on behalf of Lynn, which Jessy denies. She is feeling backed into a corner during this line of questioning and becomes defensive. She states that this is a huge deal and a serious matter. This referring to her potential life sentence, not the death of her friend.
My biggest thing right now is I am ready to try to find an attorney because I feel like no matter what, I'm going down for this. And I feel like I'm going to need help. I shouldn't be, but after what you guys left me with yesterday, I had a really long night thinking of everything possible. Everything. And I'm not kidding. I was ransacking, trying to remember so much stuff that I just don't remember anymore. But I was trying to think of any possibility, that day, the timelines, everything. I was really on it, so.
I guess the suggestion I can make is you need to tell the truth.
I am telling the truth.
It doesn't sure seem like it. There's just a series of inconsistencies and half-truths, if you want to say, not call them lies. Your story, your recollection doesn't match the physical evidence of things.
What I want to know that you said yesterday is about the Visine. How much Visine are we talking about?
Drop the Visine. Drop it.
Why is that?
That's not changing. We told you yesterday.
I understand.
The medical examiner made that decision and she's made that ruling. That's not changing. It's been almost a year. She has done tests. Okay. She's done.
But I never heard how much, and you guys are saying she can't drink that by herself or put it in food or whatever. So that's what I'm trying. I don't know how much we're talking about. I'm sorry. I'm just curious.
No, we told you.
I want to know. No, you never told me.
Yeah.
You told me 60 something. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's cups, bottles. What I don't know is what I'm saying. For me, this is frustrating. So I want to know as much as I can know. I know you guys think I probably know about it. You said that already.
Yeah.
But how much?
Suggesting it, not through the eye.
No,
through the mouth.
You said that too.
Mm-hmm.
But how much, can kill a person is what I want to know, or how much was in her system. So where are things at then right now?
We're still investigating you for homicide. That's what we're doing.
And nobody else?
No one at this point.
You tell us.
I asked you yesterday.
The only other person I could think of, and I thought this last night, I'm not saying she would do it, I just was trying to think, she had the keys, her neighbor. I literally was up all night long, I'm not blaming her neighbor, accusing her, I'm just giving you a name.
Well, Gene wasn't the one that was getting hundreds of thousands of dollars from Lynn, and Gene wasn't the one opening credit cards and trying to do loans in her name.
Everything.
Let me ask you something, Jessy. Chris said this best thing possible. Yeah. It's time to tell the truth because this is it. This is true, real life here. Okay. Yeah. Everybody we've talked to, you've lied to. You've lied to Scott. You've lied to your mom. We talked to your mom yesterday.
Jessy breaks down during her interrogation when confronted with the contradicting stories. She claims Lynn died from self-inflicted harm. However, she never shared that with police at the time of finding her in the condo. She states that Lynn has been suffering from ailments for 3 years and didn't want to continue. Jessy wishes that the hospital would offer assisted death for those like Lynn.
You didn't know there were 2 guns underneath his
No,
head?
I didn't. I thought those were bow and arrows, I swear to God. I don't open them. I've never opened them. I don't have anything to do with hunting, period. I know they're hunting, the outside is like hunting. This is why Scott doesn't know a lot of this. Because I couldn't tell him how bad things were. My mom does know about the gun. She knows about some of that. I couldn't tell him because I couldn't face up the fact that things were that bad. Things got extremely bad. And she literally didn't care. She tried so many different things. Half the time I wouldn't even be there. I'd come home and find her. And usually every time I could either get her to the hospital or do whatever we needed to do. And this was the one time I couldn't. And that's why I'm telling you the only thing she had by her that day was water. And I threw out all the bottles of water I thought that she had put stuff in that were open. So that's why I really don't buy it, because I threw out all the magazines prior. Not that day. So that's why I'm having a really hard time believing that. Now, you know why I didn't want to tell you everything? Because that's everything.
No, I don't know. I don't know why when you're sitting in a chair yesterday and we're telling you that we think you were involved in Lynn's death, and you're trying to say you don't want to make her look like a piece of shit. Well, worrying about somebody. So you would rather sit there and be accused of murder than just say Lynn was killing her, Lynn was trying to kill herself.
There's a reason why I kept wanting to talk to you guys, and I was having a hard time trying to say it. Okay, I was having a hard time in general with this for the last 2 days. So, because I got everybody in my world just lost what I had left. And I'm really mad at her for this. I'm really mad. That's the only thing my mom says the first time you question us. She goes, I'm mad at Lynn for this. I'm so mad at her for this. Because it should have never came to this. Ever. I get it, you don't want to be here, but there's got to be a better. I honestly believe that we should have that thing where if you're so sick you can go to the doctor or whatever, and the other states have. Because some of those things are just not the way to do it.
Jessy finally admits that she has seen and given Lynn Visine eye drops to drink in the past. She claims it was in small amounts at various times, and she felt that she had to do what Lynn requested of her. If Lynn wanted excessive amounts of alcohol, Jessy wasn't going to stop a grown woman from making her own decisions. So when Lynn allegedly requested eye drops spiked water, Jessy abided. She assures the interrogators that this was only a few drops every now and again. She's questioned about why she kept this a secret from her mother and boyfriend. Jessy admits to lying to them about details surrounding Lynn's care that she provided.
Why aren't you telling anyone what's going on? If you're struggling internally with Lynn trying to kill herself, taking this Visine, which you know is wrong, not normal, especially if she tries to drink a whole bottle in front of you, right? The gun thing, everything, but you don't seem to tell anyone what's going on.
No, do you know what I did? I drank. I drank it away. That's what I did.
You gotta. It seems odd that you don't ask your mother or Scott for some assistance. Not even assistance going there with you, but just, Scott, what should I do?
Mom did know some of it.
Scott, what should I do?
And my mom got to the point where she didn't want to be around it.
What do you think Scott would have said if you would have said, hey, Lynn's drinking Visine, what should I do?
He would have said, probably call the cops immediately.
Because Scott does the right thing.
Yeah.
And if you know that, that's the reason you didn't tell him. Because you knew it was wrong.
I knew it was wrong, but at the same sense, there's only so much you can do. And I just feel like I don't know. I didn't know what to do anymore.
You said earlier.
I love her to death, and I didn't want to watch her anymore being miserable, but I didn't want to let go of her at the same time. I went both ways.
Were you with her the night before the death?
Yeah.
Because you said earlier, about 6 minutes ago, that you knew she drank a bottle the night before.
Yeah. She drank, not a bottle, but she put it in her vodka. I did know that. I said that yesterday.
So,
But other than that, I've never done it. And the only reason I did it is because the Visine was in the bathroom. And she asked me to make her a drink. And I literally did it in front of her. And I only did 2 drops. And she took the bottle from me because I wouldn't put any more in it.
Okay, so
I'll be honest. I did 2 drops once my whole time. And I swear I wouldn't have thought anything different. I didn't think she'd ever die from it.
But I thought you said that she thought she was.
She thought she was.
Because of why?
Because she read about it.
Okay.
I didn't read anything about death.
But weren't you concerned that she said she read something and you thought she was trying to
she
kill herself?
thought this was a way to try. She didn't know for sure, but it was one of the things she found, just coming across different things. She was looking into everything possible. Everything. I mean, stuff I've never even heard. I never heard of this before. I'm going to be honest.
Did she have a computer at the house?
No. That's why she always used my phone.
What kind of cell phone did she have?
It's a throwaway you get from the state.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't have internet.
Okay.
No, she had no internet access.
Jessy sits in her cold cell, still in disbelief she has been taken into custody. While in jail, she brags to her cellmate that she is a pro at forging IDs and other personal information. If anyone is ever in need of her services, she is more than happy to share her skills. This is in contrast to Jessy's interrogation, denying committing any forgery to obtain money from Lynn. Feeling lonely, Jessy wants to hear a friendly voice, so she calls her boyfriend Scott. When he picks up, Jessy pleads for his understanding. She had nothing to do with Lynn's disturbing end. Her voice wavers, equal parts anger and fear. She just needs Scott's support right now, during this nightmare. He is her rock through every storm. Surely he knows she is incapable of such a thing. Jessy insists the investigators have it all wrong. Scott listens silently on the other end, his mind spinning with doubt. He thinks of the day Jessy nonchalantly announced Lynn's death. Scott swallows hard, realizing he does not know this woman at all. The police arrival has shattered the fantasy Jessy carefully constructed in him. As Jessy continues her desperate appeals, the truth now seems as hazy as this woman he thought he loved. Scott eventually starts calling Jessy out for her inconsistencies.
God, I'm not being mean at all. I'm being what any normal human being would be in this situation. I don't know you, Jessy.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. I don't. Nobody makes up lies like that to their person they love. You don't love anybody.
I don't love anybody?
No, you don't. You don't lie to people. You don't lie to people and make up so many lies.
About one thing. One thing. Our whole life was not a lie.
Yeah, it was.
No, it wasn't. How can you even say that?
Very easily, because you lied to me about something very serious. Then you told a bunch of other lies on top of that to my family about her being in the hospital and being brought back to life. You just kept making up more and more lies. You're diabolical. That's just crazy. Crazy. I can't even believe it. Do you know what it's doing to my mind, knowing that I was living with somebody like that? And you never even skipped a beat. It didn't even bother you.
It didn't bother me? It bothered the shit out of me, Scott. There's a reason I didn't let you know this shit.
I couldn't tell. Whatever. I couldn't tell. There's no reason why you didn't let me know this shit. You should have let somebody else know, like the police or a mental institution or something. Not what the heck you did. It's just sick. It's so sick and disgusting.
You act like that was our whole 3.5 years together. And it wasn't.
Well, it takes precedence over everything, trust me.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't for you, Jessy, because you're not a normal person. It does for me.
You never once thought that I was keeping you from anything so you wouldn't know, so you wouldn't be a part of anything? So you wouldn't get hurt, so you wouldn't be involved?
Why the hell would I think anything even close to what was going on? I was told she's in the hospital.
She was in the fucking hospital numerous times.
Well, not in a coma for 5 months. That's what you told me. So,
I know that's what I told you.
Yeah,
I told you
know.
that to protect you for a reason.
That's pretty disgusting. That's a disgusting thing to lie about.
Jessy continues to be held in custody as her trial approaches. Jessy is charged with 1 felony count of first-degree intentional homicide and guilty of 2 counts of theft of movable property, less than $100,000, but more than $10,000. Now we are at the trial of Jessy Kurczewski. The prosecution lays out a compelling case against Jessy for the murder and financial exploitation of Lynn Hernan. Their central argument is that Jessy's acts reveal her clear intent to deliberately end Lynn's life, while also draining her of money and possessions for personal gain. In building their case, the prosecution first establishes Lynn Hernan as the victim, a vulnerable, technologically unsavvy widow who Jessy cared for. It is alleged that Jessy stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from Lynn's account over several years. The prosecution contends Lynn never consented to these transfers and withdrawals. The prosecution ties Jessy's financial exploitation to her appointment as personal representative of Lynn's estate. In this role, they allege Jessy looted another $87,000 through cash withdrawals, fraudulent checks, and documentation. For the prosecution, the timing and circumstances leave no doubt of Jessy's intent to kill Lynn for inheritance money after bleeding her savings dry. It is stated that Jessy was in fact in Lynn's will. Per Lynn's will, Jessy stood to inherit half of Lynn's $150,000 estate after her death. The prosecution sees clear financial motive for murder and asserts Jessy poisoned Lynn using a Visine-filled water bottle. They point to Jessy's inconsistent statements about Lynn's health and death as evidence of her lies and cover-up.
She says, "I was sick because I knew it could kill her." And you're going to hear that knowing that Ms. Kurczewski still left Lynn Hernan alone, left her house. In fact, you're going to hear that she didn't spend the day worried about Lynn. She was opening a JCPenney account in Lynn's name that same morning, and she was using other accounts of Lynn to go shopping, do some online shopping, while she knew she had just given Lynn poison. Dr. B herself ordered several toxicology reports after the original one. She wanted to see more information, as much as she could get. And about that, she'll tell you that in her experience over that 35 years, she thought this death scene looked staged. She's been to a number of drug overdose deaths and the scenes, and she'll tell you that this one struck her as being staged. Because she'll tell you that people who legitimately overdose on drugs and end up killing themselves do not have piles of powder sitting on their chest. They don't have powder and pill fragments up in their hair. They don't have pills laying everywhere. They take everything. There's really nothing usually left behind.
The defense argue that Jessy simply found Lynn lying in her chair already deceased. They assert that this is nothing more than a self-inflicted harm, due to Lynn struggling for many years with health issues. They highlight the pills in Lynn's system were all taken willingly, pointing out how could someone force someone to take that many pills. The defense also highlights that no one has ever died from eye drop poisoning. Unfortunately, this statement is just not true. They argue that any money Jessy received was given to her directly from Lynn. The defense doesn't even understand why Jessy was investigated, given the clear-cut evidence of self-inflicted harm.
But this is a case where they see a suicide. Lynn liked her vodka. And when she died on October 3rd, 2018, she had alcohol in her system. I'm not saying she's a bad person. She just liked vodka. She also liked Visine. I have no idea why. Why somebody would put Visine in their alcohol or Visine in water. I don't know why people smoke marijuana. I don't know why people do heroin. I don't know why people do cocaine. I don't know why people do fentanyl. I don't get it. But people like doing it. That stuff doesn't make sense to me, why people want to put that in their body. Lynn liked to put Visine in vodka and water. Why? Who knows? I don't know. When Lynn passed away, they talk about, and I want you to hold him to this prosecutor, when he came up here and said, the tetrahydrozoline, the Visine, killed Lynn. You hold him to that when he came up here. That's what killed her. You know, to this day, but no one's ever died from Visine. Ever. On planet Earth. No one, not one person's ever died from Visine, tetrahydrozoline poisoning. It's never happened. And I learned during this case, it's kind of like marijuana. You know, you can smoke blunt after blunt after blunt after blunt after blunt, and it can't kill you. The ingredients of marijuana. And I learned it through this case. That you can smoke all day, every day, marijuana, it can't kill you. Apparently something with your body. And it's like that with Visine. It can't kill you.
Judge, I'm going to object. That's not what any of the evidence is going to come in to say.
Attorney Galaviz, rephrase.
Well, we'll see.
Jessy was found guilty of 1 felony count of first-degree intentional homicide and guilty of 2 counts of theft of movable property, less than $100,000 but more than $10,000. 2 days before Jessy was scheduled to be sentenced, her attorneys filed motions to withdraw from the case. Allegedly, this is because it created a conflict of interest, since trial notes ended up at Jessy's friend's house. Jessy had written a letter asking her friend to fake paperwork, and to even pretend to be Lynn in a voice recording, in an effort to back up Jessy's claim that Lynn died by self-inflicted harm. Jessy also claimed that this was one of her attorney's ideas. This made the attorney very uncomfortable, so he contacted the state bar ethics. They told the attorney that they should withdraw off the case. Jessy faces a mandatory life sentence for the homicide conviction and an additional 10 years for felony theft convictions. So why would Jessy steal from her friend, and even include her own mother as a beneficiary? We're going to look at the fraud triangle theory of occupational fraud. This theory states that 3 factors drive people to commit fraud in the workplace: pressure, opportunity, and rationalization. Jessy was under financial pressure, accumulating over $500,000 in expenditures while only earning $50,000 in income. She had the opportunity to steal from Lynn, gaining access to Lynn's bank accounts and credit cards. Jessy may have rationalized her fraud by telling herself Lynn didn't need the money, or by downplaying the effects of her actions. This combination of factors could have led Jessy down the path towards increasingly serious criminal behavior. Jessy created an intense economical strain by spending so much money. This may have compelled Jessy to find illegal methods of gaining cash. Stealing from Lynn's accounts was a way to ease this financial vice. Additionally, Jessy had ample opportunity to embezzle money from Lynn. She trusted Jessy enough to grant her access to 2 of her bank accounts and multiple credit cards. Jessy was even named a beneficiary in Lynn's will and became the personal representative of Lynn's estate after she died. Jessy had nearly unrestricted access to siphon away Lynn's money at will, transferring it directly into her own bank account or charging purchases to Lynn's credit cards. She took full advantage of this opportunity for economic gain at Lynn's expense. Finally, Jessy showed a disturbing capacity to rationalize her theft and fraud. She went to great lengths to hide her financial exploitation of Lynn from others. This included fabricating store receipts to justify expenditures and lying to her boyfriend that Lynn was in a coma. Jessy was clearly aware on some level that her actions were wrong, yet she justified them by downplaying the harm being inflicted on Lynn. In Jessy's mind, the ends of relieving her own financial hardship likely justified the unethical means. This rationalization paved the way for increasingly violent criminal acts against Lynn. It got to a point that Jessy had completely dried out all of Lynn's accounts. It may have seemed like the only option for Jessy at the time. And with Jessy in Lynn's will, whether put there ethically or unethically, she was set to inherit at least $75,000. In total, the combination of financial pressure, easy opportunity, and self-serving rationalization created a perfect storm for occupational fraud. And unfortunately, in this case, it ultimately escalated to murder. As always, this analysis is not intended to absolve Jessy of her horrific crimes. Do you think Jessy intended for Lynn to die? Or was she just trying to make her sick? Do you think Jessy has ever tried to harm Lynn in the past? Or was this a spur-of-the-moment decision? Please remember to subscribe to the channel to receive automatic reminders of our weekly videos, which we premiere on Sundays followed by a live hangout session, and to also be reminded of our weekday live streams where we cover full trials and true crime stories. Also, if you want early access to ad-free and uncensored versions of all Wicked videos, feel free to become a channel member. Becoming a member will also give you access to exclusive emotes and badges. Thank you for watching, and join us next time when we explore the psychological maze of some of the most wicked people.